on stuff, I want to show you a few things just about some of the uses because a lot of people don't realize how much they can use Google Forms. A lot of people think it might just be for people with specific needs or whatever, but there are a lot of reasons to use it. You can, here's a little list of some things, and actually at the end, I have a list of a few more things. Here are some things here are some ways that people are using them. They're surveying data from parents, students, or colleagues, great for any type of survey. So if you are uh, just in need of getting some information, a quick survey from parents or students about anything, you can. Uh, some teachers and schools are actually using them for classroom permission slips. Formative assessment. This is a big one. This is a real easy way to get an idea or take the temperature of a class before you start a lesson on what their prior knowledge is. I teach a couple classes at Stockton where I get very mixed set of students. Some are very knowledgeable and some are not. And on the very first day of the class, I have them fill out one of these things, and I know right away exactly what kind of a class I've got and exactly where to gauge my curriculum or my content for them. Of course, quizzes and self tests. Self tests are great because people can practice and test themselves and get immediate feedback on the things they make. A great thing you can do is use it to collect URLs from student work. Now, this runs deeply with Google Drive because a student can upload an assignment to Google Drive into a specific folder. They have to make sure, of course, they have the proper sharing settings. And then when they do, um, you can actually have them submit the link right into a form. I did this with a final project in my last class, and it worked perfectly. So it's a great way to do it. You can use these things for sign up sheets. There's a great way to use them for sign out sheets. Well, what do I mean by sign out sheets? Well, some schools might have a rack of iPads or a rack of Chromebooks, and students may need to sign them out one at a time while they're using them. You can use Google Sheets for things like that. It's a great way to just
If you can hear me, let me know, please. I would like, Phil is in the process of restarting his machine, and he's coming back in a few minutes, in a few seconds, actually. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
you can hear me. Great. It's something went wrong with Phil's system, so he's rebooting, and he will be with us shortly. Sorry about this. If need be, we can prolong it a few minutes after 5. So let's give Phil a few seconds until he comes back again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. How far back did you stop hearing me? Because I was really, really good. Uh, uh, no, how far back was it? First slide?
I think
Okay,
the last slide after the before features.
okay, before features. Okay, I'll go back to that one. Thanks. Okay. So again, if you heard this already, I apologize. I'll try to go through it quickly. Before features. Okay, so some reasons that people are using forms. Here they are: surveying data from parents and colleagues, classroom permission slips, formative assessment. Take the test before the class, before a subject. Find out what your students know ahead of time. It's a great way. Nice, pre-test, post-test kind of thing. Um, you can do quizzes, give the two students self-tests or practice tests, some things to build their confidence going into real assessment. A great way you can collect URLs to assignments. This is great for people who do file-based assignments or projects where the project might be stored in a folder on a Google Drive. The student can actually post the URL to the link to that assignment in there, and then you as a teacher, all you have to do is click on the link and you can get to everybody's assignment. I tried that in a class this last semester with some projects with students, and it was wonderful. Sign up sheets, sign out sheets for signing out maybe various different things for the classroom, like Chromebooks or iPads or something like that. It's a great way to organize lesson plans because you can actually fill out the form to create like a rubric into a spreadsheet, which is a nice way to work, which is some things that people have done. You can do 1 or 2 questions for exit tickets at the end of a lesson just to take the temperature of whether or not you've reached the students. Some of the reasons why we use these is because of immediate access to data. You can see it right away. As a matter of fact, if you are presenting it in front of a room, taking a survey in front of a room full of people, you can show the results while they come in a graphical form, which is really cool. You can automatically grade your quizzes. You have the ability to include images and video. You can collaborate with colleagues on things. In other words, more than one person can work on creating a form, which can take a lot of the pressure off of you. You can include the form right in an email. Now, this is essential because, especially if you're taking surveys, because one of the most difficult thing about administering a survey is getting people to the survey. And so the when you put the survey right in the email, embed it right in the email, you can excuse me, I've got like an issue here. It's all good now. You can, when you embed it right in the email, people have it right there, and they're much more inclined to start clicking on the responses, especially when they see they don't have too many questions to answer in the survey. You can also embed them in web pages, and they work beautifully with next week's topic, Google Sites, because you can embed them right into a website, and again, making it a much easier. And the design and the ease of use for creating these things is just really, really intuitive and easy. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the presentation now, and I'm gonna move into actually creating Google a form with you. Now, what I've done is I've actually stored all the questions on the side here in a Google Doc, just so you don't have to watch me type all of them in, because I'm not a fast typist. So I'll be copying and pasting some of the questions in just to expedite things. I'm going to start here in my Drive, as now many of you are familiar with, and I'm going to slide down. Now, we have advanced beyond the first three items here, docs, sheets, and slides. We're on to forms, which is basically just still in the same menu, just down a little further under more. I'm going to click on forms, and I'm just going to select blank form. And this is what it looks like. Now, this purple and things like that, that can be changed later if we want to change the way our form is presented. But for now, I'm going to stick to the defaults and utilize them this way. So the first thing I want to do is put in my first question. Now, I'm going to put in a question that's going to be called first name. Okay, now, did you see what happened here where my mouse is when I did that? Let me undo that. Okay, I'm going to undo that. Now, look, you see how this says multiple choice here? These are the question types when we're adding questions, okay? When I put in a question, Google actually reads it and changes the question type based on what it thinks is the most suitable question type for the content. So I'm going to put in first name. And watch what happens. You see how it's switched to short answer? Obviously, you can't use multiple choice for a name. So it knew as soon as it saw the word name that the short answer was the appropriate way to do it. By the way, I really should have stopped jumping a little ahead here. I probably should have given my form a name. So I'll just call this survey. I'm going to survey people's knowledge of G Suite items. Okay, and just like in Google Docs, if I have a title in my document and I click up on the top left corner to title the file, it will copy the title from the top of my screen. Now, you'll see it has a form description. That's not mandatory, but if you have lots of different forms, it's probably not a bad idea to add the descriptions. Now, over here on the right is the toolbar for pretty much everything I'm going to put into my form. Almost everything I can do, it can do from here. Now, I'm going to click on that question I just created, and I'm going to click to create the next one. Before I do that, I want to show you some of my other options for this particular question. If you want to make a question required, you do so per question by just clicking the little button on the bottom right corner of the screen, and you can select required. So now nobody taking this survey will be able to go past this page without answering that question. If for some reason I don't like a question I made, I can click the trash can. And if you have a question that you want to use as possibly a template for another question, it might have the same set of rejoinders maybe as a multiple choice question, and you just want to duplicate it and change the question itself, you would just hit this duplicate button. Actually, I will duplicate just to show you what that looks like, because I have first name here. I have the proper data type selected. So now I'm just going to duplicate, and I'll do last name. And so now I have that in there, and that'll be my short answer. This one is also required. So I'm going to move on. Notice that as you make them required, you'll get the little asterisk by the question. That doesn't show while you're in design, while you're actually working in the editing. spot of the question, but it will show. Incidentally, what we are looking at now is not exactly what the form is going to look like to the user when they see it. In order to see that, I click this eye at the top of the screen, which is my preview button. And when I click on preview, that shows you more of what it's going to look like to the user. And we will be visiting that from time to time, simply because some of the questions that we're going to do are better suited. We actually won't really be able to tell what they're doing unless we do that to see what they really look like. Okay, so so I'm going to add a new question, and the next one I want to add is going to be, let's see here, I have my thing. I'm going to find out if the person taking the test, what their role is in a school. Okay, so what I wanted, so this one will be a multiple choice question. Incidentally, we have multiple choice and we have check boxes. They work almost exactly the same. The only difference is that with a checkbox, you can have multiple responses. With a multiple choice, it's limited to one. Drop down works like a drop down menu. It creates, rather than radio buttons or check boxes, it creates a drop down menu that you can choose. I'll do one of those for you so you can see what that looks like as well. But for now, I'm just going to do multiple choice. And for this one, I am going to do I am a, and I'll just put some ellipses. And my first option will be a teacher. My second option will be administrator. And my next option will be maybe a tech person. And then I'm gonna use this for this last one. There's another one where you can add other. And when I click this, it puts in other, and let me show you what that looks like to the world. So when I put in other, it actually allows you to check it and then gives you a spot where you can fill in the blank. So that really, to code something like that in the old days when I used to make these things from scratch, that was a lot of work. But this, it's built right in for you here. So that's a perfect way to use something like multiple choice. Now, if I were to use this same question as a drop-down, it would look more like this. Let me show you what that looks like. So here's the drop-down. Notice that other is not an option for the drop-down. So if you're going to include other, you're probably going to want to choose the type that's multiple choice. Now let me go back and put my other in there, because I think that's, as my Massachusetts background would say, that's wicked cool. So I'm going to leave that one in there, and I'm going to make this a required question. And then I'm going to move on to do my next one. My next one is going to be, I'm going to use what's called a rating scale. And what I want to find out is how often do my people surveyed use Google products, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this thing called linear scale. And this is really cool. This is really good if you want to create like a survey for, how much do people like something or not, So here's how it works. You create linear scale. And when you do linear scale, it takes some setup. First of all, you can pick your numeric values for your scale. So if you need, for some reason, to have a scale from 1 to 10, as opposed to 1 to 5, which is its default, you can switch it to 10. Maybe there's a specific reason to do it to 9. I don't know. But I'm going to leave it at 5. And then all you really have to do is label what does 1 mean and what does 5 mean. 1 will be never, and 5 will be constantly. I don't know. I'll just make something up. And again, I'm going to make that a required. And now I've got my linear scale. So let me show you what that looks like now that I've done it. I'm going to click on preview. And you can see now that the user can put in something like that. And you get very quickly, you can pick up a rating, and it looks really good. And it's real easy for the user to see how these things work. I'm going to leave my page and go back to my editing. And now I want to, this one is a tricky one, but it's really worth taking a look at. And it's only tricky the first time you do it. Once you see it, you get it. What I'm going to do is I want to do a rating scale, but I want to do a rating scale for multiple things at one time, all in one question. So I'm going to start my new question, and look what happened. You see how my question went to the top? That will happen from time to time, and it's not necessarily where I wanted it. So what I'm going to do, and the reason it did that is because that's where that's where my cursor was when I put it in. It goes near whatever you have selected. But if you do need to move a question when you're creating these, you can simply click into the question and you'll get a little set of dots at the top of the screen right in the middle of the question, and you can just drag it to wherever you want it to go. And I still need it to move down one more. It just won't move down for me. Well, I'll move this one up. What do you think about that? Okay. Now I lost it completely. Okay, let me just make another one here. I don't know what I did. Okay, so I'm going to put in this thing, rate your competency on the following products. So what I want to do is I want people to rate how they think they are. Okay, so it could be horrible. I spelled it wrong. Horrible. Pretty good. Astonishing. Okay, so those are my ways of rating myself. So what am I going to rate myself on? These are going to be the things that go down the side of this table. What this is doing is sort of creating a table. So I'm going to do docs. I'm going to put in Google products here. Sheets. Slides. Forms. And I'll just do sites. You can do as many of these as you like, but that's what it looks like. Now, what does this look like when I actually see it? Let's click on our preview, and I'll show you what it makes. It makes this one of these things. So now I can go in here very quickly and rapid fire my answers as a user. All these things make it easier for the user to do, and that's what our goal is with these things. So again, that particular question is called multiple choice grid, and it's very useful because you can collect a lot of data at once, and it all comes in nicely in a spreadsheet. Now watch this. I'm going to require this, and with this, when you require this question, it means that at least you have to answer in every single row. You have to put some kind of a response in. Okay. Now I'm going to get really crazy here. I'm going to put in an image question. Now watch this. I'm going to add a new question, and okay, so obviously I need to show an image for this to make any sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find what I just did is I clicked on, I'm sorry I didn't show you what I did, right to the right of the question. When you're clicked into the text that you are using to insert the question, you can click on a little icon that denotes a graphic. And when you click on that, you can put an image in. So now what I want to do is, these are just like all the image searches we have in our other Google products. I'm going to click on search so that I can use the Google search. And I'm going to do, let me see if I can find Google Sheets. Okay, let's see if there's a picture of a Google Sheet. Okay, this looks like a good one. So I'm going to click that to put it into my page. So now I have an image question. So now I can use my multiple choice, show them a picture. If I want it, I can make it a little smaller if I don't want it to take up the whole page. Show them a picture, and then I could put a few choices here. And I can see if they get it, if they know what they're doing. Again, I can add more, but I'm not going to waste your time adding them. Additionally, I can add a question that doesn't have an image in the question, but rather images in the rejoinders themselves. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to add a new question. And this is going to be, I want to see if people really know what the logos are that Google uses for their Google. So I'm going to make it a multiple choice, but instead of putting my image up here where the question is, I'm going to put it in here where the rejoinders are. So if you notice, when I mouse over the rejoinder, you get a little image on the side here, a little image icon in order to load an image. So let me do a search for Google logos. And let me copy that to my clipboard because I might need it later. So let's see here if there is, there it is, there's the Google Drive one. So let's get that in there first, since that's the right answer. And now I'm going to go to my next option, and I'm going to do the same search again. I just pasted that in there. I copied it, and let's see here. Here's let's see. Why am I being so picky here? This is Google Photos. This is a good one, and I'll do one more, just for fun. And I'll just do maybe. I'll do maps. Okay, so now my question, I'm going to preview. So now my question has little image rejoinders. This is great if you're doing like world languages or something like that. You could actually put in maybe the French or Spanish word or whatever, and then make them match it to the picture. Or this actually takes the ability to use this into the lower grade levels as well. That's how that works. Now, the last thing I'm going to put in one more question, but before I put that in, I'm going to insert a video into my form. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I click here, I'm going to look for something on YouTube. So I'll do Google Drive tutorial. And I'll search, and if I want, I'm going to find one that's short. These are all too long. Here's a 7-minute one. Who doesn't love that? And I'm going to select that, and now I have a video. Oh, it's 7 minutes, but it's in Arabic. But that's for Faisal. So I can put answer the following questions after watching this video. You get it. Okay, well, look at following. That's an interesting way of spelling. Okay, so that's what this is. Now I could just go on and ask questions below that. Okay, what language is this? And I'll just put some funny thing. I think you get the idea. The next idea is, like, how do we make this let's say that we've completed our form. We've done everything we want to do with this form. Okay, let's take a look at some of the settings and some of the things that we have to control it. So if you take a look at the very top of the screen, this is where we do all of this. You'll see there's a color palette here, and what that lets me do is change my color scheme. So if I don't like this default color that I has, I could maybe choose this blue if I like. If I don't like that, I can actually pick an image if I want. So maybe, let's see, let's get something kind of techie looking, since this is a techie kind of survey. Here, look at here are some robots or something like that. That's good. And then, so you see how you can change the overall look of you can actually import your own images for this as well if you have some, but you always have to be careful about what size you're making the image to make sure that they look good up here. So that's kind of changing the look. Now I'm going to go to the settings, and there are 3 spots in settings that you need to be aware of. There's general, there's presentation, and there's quizzes, which we're going to look at in our next example. General, you need to pay close attention to. Okay, this one, look what it says. It says restrict to Stockton University users. If I leave that on, I will not be able to take surveys from somebody unless they're logged in with a Stockton Gmail account, a Stockton Mail account. So that I want to make sure I shut that off, particularly if I'm reaching out to the public. However, if I'm reaching out to my students, they all have Stockton accounts, so I have no problem using that way. So if you're using a Google account from your own district, you will also, might say, instead of Stockton University, it might say what district you're in. Now, this next one might be tempting, but it needs to be entered lightly. This says limit to 1 response. If I check that, that means that respondents can only respond 1 time. The problem is the only way they can respond is if they're logged into a Google account. That's the way Google knows who is responding. So if you are not certain that all of your users are going to be able to have log in Google accounts, which if you're reaching out to the public, chances are not everybody will, do not use that one. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. There's some other things we can set here. Now, to presentation, if you have a long survey, you can show a progress bar. If you can shuffle question order, which is nice and handy if you're doing quizzes, and even you can show the link to submit another response. I'll show you what that looks like when we well, I'll put that on so you see what that looks like. You can also get a nice little confirmation message for after they submit the form. Thank you. We appreciate it, whatever. You have entered a sweepstakes to win a free t-shirt. Whatever it is, you can put that in there. And I'm going to save my settings. Now I want to take the quiz, or I want to not take the quiz, but I want to administer the survey. To do that, you hit send. And when you click send up here in the top right-hand corner, you get these various options. I can email it. I can just get the link to it. Or I can get, for some of you that are more advanced with HTML and stuff like that, you can get the embed code to embed in a web page. Don't worry about that one. I'm going to select the link one, the link option, the second option. And I'm going to click this little thing, see shorten URL. It creates a little shortened URL for you, which makes it nice. Now, if I just click the copy button, I can copy this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this into the interface into the chat where you guys were all chatting. Is that Hindu writings, Faisal? Okay, so here's a link to the form. You don't have to click on it and try it out if you don't want to, but I'm going to try it out to show you what it looks like. If you want to try it, by all means, go ahead, and it should be good. So I'm going to close out this window, and now I'm going to click over here on responses. And right now you'll see I have 0 responses. So this is the kind of thing you can be looking at when you're getting responses. This can happen either in real time or asynchronously, depending on how you're running your survey. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my other browser here, and I'm going to fill out the survey myself. So that's the link to my survey. And this is what it looks like, and I'm going to put in my name here. I'm just going to make up a name, and then I'm going to put in that I'm a professor. And then this was a mistake question, so don't pay attention to that. We can go back and delete that later if we like. How often do I use them? Constantly, and I'm astonishing at all of these. Okay, and then for this, let's say I'm not as astonishing as I think I am. I'll get a wrong answer. And I'll pick my proper logo for my drive, and I'll pick this, and then I'll hit submit. And this is really just to let you see what it looks like once it gets in. Now look at this. Remember when I said that there's an option to submit another response? If you wanted to give people that option, now that I've completed this, I could click in here to submit another response. I really don't want to do that, and I really don't think most of the time you want that, but it is an option if you want it. Now look at this. These are my results as they're coming in. So I could actually, if I'm doing this in a room in front of people, I could be showing these as they come in. And I've seen that the only person who has elected to respond is Tonto Matombo. who is actually Faisal. That's his pseudo name. And so here are my responses. And then here are the responses that 50% of my people are professors and 50% of my teachers are tech people. Okay, since there's only 2 people, that's all I get. How often do you use G Suite? Okay, I use it. You can see that both of us use it a lot, and we have varying competencies in the different ones. What now is showing who got the following ones, how they answered in these. So you see how that works. I can also click up here and look at individual responses. So I can look at every single person's form if I want to, and see what they've done. Look, I'll scroll over to the second one, and I can see what each person, exactly how they answered if I choose that. But this summary is really nice and useful. Okay, now that's nice for checking out responses on the fly, but this is even better. See this little green thing up here? You can do this at any given time in the life of your form. You don't have to do it right when it's created. As soon as you want to collect this data and you decide you want to collect it, you can do this. I'm going to click this and look what it does. Select response destination. It's create a new spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm going to hit create. And what this does is it takes all the responses to the form and puts them into a Google Sheet. So I have everything I need here. And that's how it works. You can collect data perfectly. Now, this spreadsheet will last for the life of the form, and all of the responses on it will also last for the life of the form. I cannot get rid of the responses. It is not an option. Okay, you will always have the responses. If you want a new clean form, you have to make a copy of your original form and start over again. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you how to make a form into a quiz. So I have a pre-made set of questions in here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to make them into a quiz. Now, these questions were put in just like the ones in the previous one. These are mostly multiple choice. Okay, but I'm going to show you how this works. So this is a trivia quiz. I'm collecting people's first name and last name. So there's obviously no right or wrong answer for that. We don't need to establish what's right or wrong. But in these, we need to tell Google Forms what's the right answer. We need to tell it what the right answer is. So look, I have here, so who invented the electric toaster? Okay, well, what you do here is when I click, first of all, I need to tell Google that I'm making this into a quiz. And you do that in your settings. So I'll go to my settings, I'll click on quizzes, and I'll click on make this a quiz. And I have a choice of these various different things, release grade, I'd say later after review. The respondents can see missed questions, correct answers. I'm not gonna give them anything, okay? But these are totally up to you when you administer these. So now that I have told this it's going to be a quiz, when I click on a question, it gives me the option to make an answer key for each question. You have to do this per question. Okay, so here's the answer key spot. I click on it, and first thing I have to do is give it a point value. So I'll make this worth 1 point, and then you click the right answer. And then you go back to edit question. And you have to do this for all of them. So I'll go here, answer, it's going to be a hunting license is the right answer, and I'll click OK, and I'll go back to question. Okay, who said the never accident worth talking about? That's Captain J. Smith of the Titanic, and there's one more. So this otherwise famous guy tried out for the fake pop group The Monkees but was not chosen. That's Charles Manson. A lot of people don't know about that one. This is why I'm a deep musical historian. And the average American does what 22 times a day? Thinks naughty thoughts. Okay, so that's the idea. I don't know if that's the right answer, actually. Oh, you know what it is? It opens a refrigerator. I apologize. Anyway, that's the idea. So now this can actually start to score my my quiz. So I'm going to show you how this works. Now, I can just test this right from the preview itself. So I'm going to put in my first name, and I'll put in my last name. Got my autofill going on here. Okay, who invented the toaster? I'll say Roger Jackson. And then in California, okay, mousetrap. Okay, I'll get that one right. I'll get this one wrong. I'll get this one right, and I'll do this. Now I'm going to hit submit. And because of the settings I gave it, I'm not getting an immediate response, because if you're giving it to a class and they're all taking it at different times, you don't want the guy who aced it to know he aced it so he can tell everybody else what's on it. So that's why I've elected to not show that. But if I go back in here and look at my responses, first of all, I can see what was responded. I can see what was right and what was wrong. And if I go to the individual, I can look, it shows me, it's just like a test that was marked wrong with a little X by the wrong questions. But even better than that, if I click to my spreadsheet and hit create, it will give me my score. Score always comes in the third column on the quiz. Okay, it's always, so it's, I got 3 out of 5 on this. So now it's a very quick and easy way to assess knowledge of any kind. The only other thing I want to show you, and I can't really do this from here because I don't have a proper email account with the example I'm using, but I do want to show you this aspect of it. When you elect to send something via email, you can put the email addresses into here. If you have more than one, you can put them in as comma separated email addresses. And you can here's the thing I was telling you about, where you can include your form right into an email. I can just click include form in email, and this form will just appear right in the person's email when they see it. Now, again, I won't be able to do this because I don't have a proper email account with the account that I'm using here. So it won't really work, but I did want to show you those steps. The only other thing, let's see here, one thing that you might need to know also is if you want to work with other people on a form, you do it from these, what they call here the kebab menu, and it's down here called Add Collaborators. And here, again, this is the Google sharing window where I can put in the names of addresses of any colleagues that might want to work on the form along with me and contribute it and maybe take some of the load off of me. This also gives them the access to the responses of the forms, so they can just see the responses as well. So that's, very handy thing to have. I'm going to open up to some questions, if you like. So let's see, have any come in? No. Okay. Does anybody have questions? Hello? Sarah doesn't have any questions. Okay.
So Phil,
Yeah.
when you send your quiz out as an email, your respondents, they can just use a regular Microsoft Word or whatever to respond and send it back, or do they?
No, they would do it right in whatever they're viewing their email in.
But
so
do they have to be using Google as well?
Nope. They can just, as long as you don't make it to where it's one response per person, they can use anything.
Okay.
Yeah. See that again, that one response per person limits it to Google accounts because it's the way they identify each individual user is by using their Google account. Now I could cheat because I have like 5 Google accounts and I could go in 5 different ways, but that's how that works. So no, it doesn't limit them to it does not limit them to having to have Google. It just becomes a form to fill out.
And in terms of the type of questions, open-ended questions, obviously.
Oh,
There's
in a
no way
quiz?
around that.
Let me show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me show you how that works. It's a little more work for you when you do it, but let me show you how it works. I'm going to put one at the end of this this thing. Actually, no, let me put it into my quiz. Where's my quiz? Here it is. Okay, that's not the one I want. Okay, here it is. So let me go to edit, and I'll put in a question. And you can do who was the first president? Okay, but instead of giving them multiple choices, I'm going to make them do it as a short answer. Okay, so now because let me do this right because I have teachers as my audience and I have to make sure I spell everything right. Okay, now so if I do my answer key, I can put in the correct answer, but they have to get it perfect. They have to get it perfect. If I feel like they might put it in with different spellings, okay, I can put in various different options, or I can put in other acceptable answers, and it will take any of them. For instance, I could put Washington lowercase. I'm not quite sure if this is lowercase, if this is case sensitive or not, but you could cover yourself with that. Or maybe somebody puts in George Washington or whatever. You can put them all in. You have to come up with every possible scenario. Another thing you can do is just not put a correct answer for that. And then when you get your spreadsheet, you can grade those manually by just looking through the spreadsheet. That's another way to go.
Right.
I usually, the types of things I give, I try to simplify them to the multiple choice things, unless I absolutely have to collect something this way. You can also make it, rather than short answer, you could also make it paragraphs. So you could actually put in like essay questions if you like. Again, but those will have to be graded like the old fashioned way. You have to read them, you know. So
You have to do some work, right?
yeah. So let me see here. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very good, thanks.
Okay. Okay, Mike, you want me to review how to put in a graphic? Oh, put in a graphic on top? Okay. Mike wanted me to review how to put a graphic in on top. Okay, so it's up here in the little palette, and you go up here, and then your first choice is a bunch of solid colors, and your second choice is, your very last choice is the graphics, and you have a choice of the ones they give you, which theirs are good simply because they've been pre-sized properly for Google. So if I wanted to put, amphetamines in mine, I could do that. So there they are. But if I go back here to my palette and my picture, if I wanted to upload one from my computer, I could select one from my computer. And let's see, do I have anything that I could even use? I'm not quite sure, but you could just choose an image from your computer and upload it, and then it'll create a banner for you. Okay. Okay, good. Mike got that one. Okay, anybody else?
So I think I asked this before. Will these tutorials be available later on for us?
This one will, because Faisal recorded it.
Okay. So when will we know? Next week we'll know.
After the series is completed, we'll post them all.
Okay, great.
Which will be like sometime next week.
Yeah, because it will be helpful, when you get stuck, to go back.
Oh, and by the way, let me send you to the presentation because I have all these steps in the presentation. Let me give you the link to that.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me. So this is the link to the I'm not sure. Okay, that's the link to the quiz. Now, the difference between a blank quiz and blank. I think Mike, what you're saying is when I go to make a new one, and I look here and I go to forms, and there's a template, and there's a blank form. Because I've never seen that blank quiz thing. Can you elaborate on where you saw that? I'm just waiting. He's doing all his by text. Oh, okay. You know what? There's probably some blank quiz templates already loaded on the Stockton site that somebody might have made and put up there. And uh, you can take a look at the blank quiz, and if it isn't too proprietary or too sort of conforming to what you want to use, you can use it. It might save you some steps. But okay, he said that makes sense. He cut me. He cut me off. That's good. But in general, the I always stay away from templates. They always seem to never fit my needs. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just a non-template kind of guy. But very rarely can I grab a template that suits my needs. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm putting my email address in the chat. And if you want to save that in case you have a question, you can identify yourself as one of the people in this webinar. Of course, out of the hundreds that are attending at this time, it might be hard for me to remember who was here. But you can feel free to email me. So this is your last chance. Wait, okay, let's see. Can you add answer key number of points? No, wait. Can you add answer key no of point? Is that supposed to be number? Oh, you mean yes or no? In the Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying can you make like the number of points work through every question the same? Like set that ahead of time, like set a default? Is that what you're asking? Mike? I don't know. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Okay, I can tell you Thursday night, because I see Mike from time to time. Okay, so yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't quite understand that question. Anybody else? Faisal, would you like to bring closure?
Sure. If any other questions? Okay. So thank you, Phil. Great workshop, and
Don't forget to sign up for Sites and Classroom.
Yeah, we have 2 remaining workshops in the series, Sites and Classroom, and hopefully when all of this is done, I will be able to post some of the links and videos that we recorded for the different sessions, and you will be notified where you can find these, so you can use them for your reference.
Right, Faisal has all the registration emails, so he can email everybody all of the information.
Exactly, and what we're going to do is take a look at this website that is displayed on your screen. This website will, when the series is over, all of these will be reposted with different dates. Like if you want to do a refresher, we decided we'll do an introduction one more time to all of these Google components, just as a refresher, because sometimes 1 hour is not enough to, you have to fly through that hour to cover all the content. We'll do another run. Listen, if you want to register again, you're welcome to do so. They will continue to be free. And that's it. I thank you for attending, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one, which is June 18, Google Sites.
Okay.
Thank you and good evening.
Take care.
Thank you.